Welcome back to the Arbitress YouTube channel. In today's class, we're going to learn how to make this simple pencil skirt. It's a fully lined pencil skirt with rope. So I'm not going to use a zipper for this. I'm going to use a rope to gather the waist back to its original measurement. And the skirt has an overlap on the slit area. So it has a 4 inches overlap on the slit, and it's neatly finished as well. If this is something you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so it's a simple pencil skirt. As you can see, I have my markings. This is my starting point, which is going to double as my waist. This is my hip line, this is my knee length, and then I have my full length there. So quickly here, I'm going to insert my waist measurements. And this skirt, I'm not going to be working with a zipper for it. So a very big tummy, and the person wants to use rope to tie it. So I'm going to be in fact, the waist is the fullest part of the measurement. The waist we are working with here is 48 inches, and the hip is 46. So you can see that it's a very big tummy. So where the skirt band, where the skirt is going to be placed is 48 inches. So divided by 4, that's going to give me 12 inches. But because it's not a skirt, it's not going to be so fitted at the waist. So I'm not going to work with the exact waist measurement. I'm going to add 1 inch of ease. So adding 1 inch of ease means I have added extra 4 inches to the waist for ease. Okay, so if you don't want so much, you can just add half an inch. So that way, if you multiply it by 4, remember we fold fabric into 4, this will be 2 inches extra, but 1 inch is fine for me. Then after that, I'm going to add 2 inch seam allowance to that, because I'm going to be turning all of them separately before joining. So I need allowances to do all of that so that I don't have any shortage. Then after that, I'm going to come over to my waist measurement, to my hip measurement. The hip is 46, divided by 4 is 11.5. So I'm not adding any ease to that. I'm just going to simply add my seam allowance to that. It's a pencil skirt, so I want it to be a little bit tapered towards the hem of the skirt. So for that, remember our actual hip is 11.5. You can remove 1 inch or 1.5. This for an adult, for an elderly person, so I don't want to do too much. I'm just going to be removing 1 inch from this. So if I remove 1 inch from 11.5, I'll have 10.5. So over here, I'm going to mark 10.5, and then I'll add my 2 inches seam allowance to that as well. So the measurement that I have here is what I'm going to take to the hem. Okay. So all you just need to do is to connect all of these measurements together, and then you're going to cut. It's very simple. Remember, it's not a fitted skirt, so I'm not going to be adding I'm not going to be putting that on this. Okay, there's no that. The person is going to use a rope to tie it, so it's just straight and very easy. So I'm connecting this to the hem, and that is all I need to do. So I'll go ahead now and take scissors to cut this out, and then I'm going to cut the back as well. So for the back, it's an overlap back. You can also cut it together, but I'm cutting it separately. So we will need an overlap allowance for the back. Okay, so I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 2 again for the back. So if you notice, I have an overlap allowance of 4 inches. So I mark that into a straight line before placing my front. So my front starts from where this overlap stops. Okay, so we're just going to simply use the front to cut the back. So the side of the front remains the same. The only modification we are going to be doing is on the overlap area. So the overlap, for the overlap, you need to note where your slit is going to be. Okay, where your slit is going to start from. So I'm still going to maintain this knee length that I'm working with, because I already factored that this is not the exact knee length. I already came up by 2 inches for easy movement. So I just extended that knee measurement to this side. So all of this 4 inches is going to be for the allowance. So if you're adding a zipper to this, you're going to need your zipper allowance. So for that, I'm going to mark 1 inch from my zipper allowance. Okay, I'm still going to close it. I'm not going to be using the zipper for this, But if it were to be for a fitted skirt, on the hip here, for your hip contour to create butts for the zipper, you make the allowance on the hip more than what you have on the lower part and also on the waist, so that you have like a little bit of room for the butt there. So if you are using 1 inch for others, you can make this 1.5 inches, as the case may be. So for this, I'm just measuring 1 inch all through, and then I'm going to mark that into a straight line, and that is going to be my zipper allowance. So that is all you're going to do for the back. So go ahead now and cut this out. You cut the exact same shape you have here. So from here, you start cutting from here. When you get to the knee, you extend and then leave the allowance as it is. Then the side is going to remain exactly the same. I hope you can see the side. Okay, so the side is going to remain exactly the same. I've cut that out. You can see the shape that we have. So this is the allowance and this is the overlap. So for the overlap, is still unfold. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Okay, just like that. So this is the main fabric that I'm working with. This is the lining. Okay, so we use the lining as our pattern. So this is the main fabric. So I'll go ahead now and cut both front and back on my main fabric. So you just cut the exact same shape that you have here. So in the case of the length, okay, when you get to the length, I'm going to make it longer than the lining so that it can flip over just like this. So you can make it longer by around 2 inches, so that by the time you drag it, the fabric is going to be showing on the tip of the hem. So I'm going to cut it on the fabric, you can see. So like I was explaining, you make the main fabric a little longer so that by the time you're done sewing, it's going to flip like this and it's going to show on the tip. So this is the front, and I've also cut the back as well. So now what you just need to do is to place your fabric and lining against each other, and then we're going to sew it all round. Then you leave small space to turn it out. Okay, basically what I'm doing is just to place them against each other like this, right side facing right side. Then I'm going to sew all around it and then leave space somewhere to turn it out and then close up the space. So I'll go and do all of that to all of them now, and then bring it back for us to join them together. Okay, so now I have gone ahead to join it together, and you can see that it is neatly turned in and out. I just want us to quickly rush this. So the next thing you need to do is to place the two back on each other like this. You iron it to make sure it is well ironed after turning everything out. So you're going to place the two back on each other like this, and then you will sew. So you start sewing from where your overlap starts. That's your knee area. So you're going to sew. So because we are not putting a zipper, remember we are not putting a zipper on this, so I'm just going to sew everything close. I'm here to iron mine. I don't want to stand up on this machine, so I just sew it, then take it to the ironing table and iron. So I'm sewing it up. Remember I added 1 inch seam allowance, but I have used half an inch out of it to turn that part so that it can be neat. So I'm left with half an inch. Now the two back are together. I have sewn the two back together. So for your overlap, you decide the side you want it to overlap on. So you can see that's the side you are going to turn into. If you want it on this side, you turn like this. If you want it on the other side, you flip to the other side like this. Okay, so once you flip it, you will see that it has transferred to the other side. So whichever one you want to work with is fine, but I think I'm leaning towards this side. So basically this is the overlap like this. So one will be under and the other one is going to be on top. So you can go ahead and hold that overlap with a stitch. So make sure that you arrange well. Okay, Make sure you arrange it well, and then you hold it with a stitch. That's why it's important you iron before you do all of this, so that you're not going to make any mistake. So I'm trying to arrange it. So once it is well arranged, I'm going to go ahead and then sew to hold it, so that it does not loosen when the person is working. You don't want it to start loosening up. So we're going to be holding that part with a stitch, but before I stitch on it, I'm just making sure that it is well aligned. So once I have that, I can feel where this stops. So I'm going to go ahead and run a stitch to hold it on that part. So the other side, so I have used my stitch to hold it, and this is what it looks like on this side. So you can see where I ran the stitch here to hold it. So this other part that is folded, you can just stitch on it to hold it down. I don't like to stitch on it, so I'll just put an hemming gum here, and then I'm going to use my hot iron to hold it together. So you can see now that the overlap is done. Sorry about the noise. So you can see now that the overlap is done. So the next thing to do is to just place the front and back on each other, and then you are going to be joining it by the side. Okay, it's a very simple skirt. It does not have a zipper, it does not have anything, so it's very easy to make. So you come here now, and then you start joining the side. But please, when you are making yours, please iron it before you start sewing. So I'm sewing with the allowance that I have left. So I've used half an inch to sew on the side. So I have about 1 inch left. So that's what I'm using to sew, but you can also measure to reconfirm. So after sewing it on both sides, we'll just fold in 1 inch on top to create a channel for the rope. Remember I said this is going to have a rope. So we are going to to start folding like that because I'm here to iron. So I have sewn in the first side. I'm going to go over to the second side now and sew. So the same thing you did for the first one. You arrange this part well, and then you start sewing. If you have ironed it, it's just going to lay flat and easier for you to work with. I'm done sewing it now. My skirt is now in one piece. So the last thing to do now is to fold in 1 inch allowance. Okay, I added that to my measurement as well. So I will just fold this in and then run a stitch all around, then leave the space at this center front so that I can pass a rope to it and your skirt is ready. So it's very simple to make. I'll go ahead and sew this all around now off camera. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You can see that I folded in the 1 inch for the rope. So you just leave a space at the center front where you can pass your rope to, and you have something like this. So on the overlap as well, I've used my hemming gum to glue the overlap area, so you can see that it is glued together. You can also sew it, but I don't want to have a seam line there. So you can see how neat it turned out and how beautiful it is. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.